When Earth passes through the debris field left by a comet or asteroid, and the particles of dust and ice burn up in our atmosphere, meteor showers are created. Two of these meteors had their speeds measured to be the following in standard form. We're going to use these recordings to learn about multiplication of numbers in standard form. There's two easy steps, and then we have to just do a check. So we multiply our first numbers together, giving us 6.48, and then we add our powers, 14, giving us our answer of 6.48 times 10 to the 14, and then we have to perform our check. So we just check and see if our number is in standard form. So A is between 1 and 10, and this is multiplied by 10 raised to a power, so our number is in standard form. So multiplication is that easy. We multiply our first numbers together, add our powers, and then check for standard form. Let's try one more example. 3.5 times 10 to the 4 and 4 times 10 to the 5. So same rules. What did we do last time? We multiplied our first numbers. And then what did we do after? We added our powers. And then we just check if our answer is in standard form. This time we have 14, and 14 is not a number between 1 and 10. So our answer is not yet in standard form. To make 14 become a number between 1 and 10, we can just divide it by 10, and that now gives us 1.4. But we need to do one last thing. We need to multiply our 10 by another 10, changing our power from 9 to 10. And we do this so that we're still representing the same number. Before we move on to our next example, division is just as simple as multiplication. Instead of multiplying our first numbers together, we divide them. And instead of adding our powers together, we subtract one from the other. So 2.14 times 10 to the 7 divided by 1.2 times 10 to the 3. We divide our first numbers, 2.4 divided by 1.2 is 2, and then we subtract our powers. Finally, we perform our check. We check if our number is in standard form, and if it is, we're done. Our final practice question. 8.5 times 10 to the 12 divided by 1.7 times 10 to the 7. 8.5 divided by 1.7, 5, and then 12 minus the 7 is 5, so 5 times 10 to the 5. Walter has returned after we sent him off our first video on standard form. Whilst travelling through space, he found a friend. Our spacecraft is 4.08 times 10 to the 2 kilometers away from Earth, and Walter found his alien friend 5.9 times 10 to the 2 kilometers away from Earth. To add these two numbers together, we just have to check if their powers match. In this example, both of our powers are 2, and so we can just add our values of A. So 4.08 plus 5.9, and we get our final answer of 9.98 times 10 to the 2. Subtraction would be exactly the same, but you would subtract. They're both that simple when the powers match, and we will move on to later looking at when the powers don't match. Okay, let's say we had 4.08 times 10 to the 3 plus 8.9 times 10 to the 3 instead. Adding here would leave us with 12.98 times 10 to the 3. So we performed our first steps. We checked that our indices matched, and they do because they're both 3. And then we added our first numbers together. However, when we check now to see if our number is in standard form, it's not. If we shift our decimal point one place to the left and raise our power by 1, so that we are still representing the same number, we find our answer in standard form, 1.298 times 10 to the 4. The constellation Leo was described by Greek astronomer Ptolemy around 1800 years ago, and it was called this because it resembles the shape of a lion. These are the estimated ages of two of the stars found in this constellation. Now, if we try and add these two numbers together, we can see that their powers don't match. So to fix this, we have to force them to match. And you can pick whichever number you'd like to change, but I'm going to do this for the first value. And just like before, what we do to one number, we have to do the opposite to our other number. So I'm dividing our first number by 10, and so I raise our power up by 1, and that gives us 10 to the 9. But we need 10 to the 10, so I divide by 10 once more, and increase our power up once more, and that gives us the power that we're looking for. And now both of our numbers are raised to the same power, and so we can just add them together, and then we just check and see if our number's in standard form. Okay, our very last example, 7.3 times 10 to the 9 minus 2.3 times 10 to the 8. So we can see straight away that our powers don't match again. So let's change our second value this time. We need to increase our power, so we multiply that by 10, and now we do the opposite to our first value, so we divide that by 10. Our powers are now the same, and we can now just subtract and make sure that our number is in standard form.